Hello guys, it is Gate of Theories here, and earlier today, Danny Harmer, who we all know of course for playing the amazing Tracy Beaker, posted a tweet saying, 4 hours journey, see you on the other side, pretend daughter. Now most of us all know by now about the brand new show coming into the Tracy Beaker franchise called My Mum Tracy Beaker, based off the My Mum Tracy Beaker book published by Jacqueline Wilson. It was announced on the 2nd of August, and the fanbase just went mad over the announcement. However, apart from it being announced, we really don't know much about this brand new show. And it only seems like the main actors such as Danny Harmer herself are only just finding out little bits of information, like today first meeting the actor who will play her daughter Jess from the book. We still don't know who this actor is though. So I thought today we'd go deep into this brand new show and find out as much information as possible about My Mum Tracy Beaker. But before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make a brand new Tracy Beaker video. Now, the synopsis for the show is, the new show follows Jess and her mum as they try to scrape by financially, but with a close and loving bond that Tracy missed out on with her own mum. But then, Tracy's rich boyfriend tries to whisk them away to a life of fancy houses and fancy cars, and everything starts to go classically Tracy Beaker pear-shaped. Can Jess save the day? This relates very similarly with the blurb of the actual book where it says Tracy and Jess Beaker are the perfect team. But Tracy has sights set on a glittering future for the Beaker girls, and Jess can't help but feel that she might throw all their happiness away. From this, I think we can strongly say that the plot of the show will be Tracy trying to make sure that Jess has the best ever life ever, like the one she dreamed of as a child. However, it might be way too much for Jess, and sometimes Jess might not be able to deal with it all. So, because of this, the show may do something quite different to the other shows in the franchise we're used to. Now, this is just me speculating, but since the show is most likely following how Tracy meets the boyfriend and how Jess deals with it, I reckon each episode might flow more into each other, and there might be a full overarching story arc from the beginning to the end. Whereas currently what the story of Tracy Beaker, Tracy Beaker Returns and The Dumping Ground do is they have all done is having each individual episode of a series be exactly that, individual. Just a new story in the life of the DG. Of course, not including two-parters. I may be wrong about this, but I just feel like this takes a more clear story and structure, so I think maybe each episode will relate to one another more, like how adult shows do, rather than just one episode be individual and then the next episode be completely different. Looking more at the plot and characters, Jess, her daughter, is basically another young Tracy Beaker, although a bit more controlled than Tracy herself. So expect the actor to look exactly like how Danny Harmer did in the original show The Story of Tracy Beaker. Jess's father is called C. Martin, and him and Tracy split after he was two-timing with her, or in other words, cheating on her. The show will take on Jess being more grown up. However, I have a feeling that's gonna mean we're definitely gonna find out more about who this C person really is. Maybe in flashbacks, or a special where he returns for Jess, similar to how the Tracy Beaker movie did it, where Tracy's mum, Carly Beaker, returned for her. I'm guessing it's going to be a sensitive subject for Tracy and Jess to talk about though, but I'm definitely assuming that we're going to find out more about who this father is. In fact, in the book, Tracy describes C as the best mistake I've ever made. It also mentions that Tracy doesn't want to get back together with him, but still tries to keep in touch for Jess's sake, which is another reason for why he's most likely going to appear in this show. The book also gives a great description of C, saying he's very good looking with curly dark hair. He's a DJ at the club Storm, and that is how Tracy Beaker met him in the first place when she was out with her friends at the club. So maybe there might be a lot of scenes at this club Storm. Speaking of Tracy's boyfriend, the book follows Tracy and her new boyfriend Sean Godfrey. Jess can't even admit in the book that she doesn't like this new boyfriend, but Tracy seems to be obsessed with him, and from the synopsis of the TV show, it looks like he's the reason why everything begins going a bit wrong. In the book, he does some questionable things, like invite Justine Littlewood along with the adventure, so clearly he's going to cause a lot of drama, and we'll have to see how it plays out in the TV show. With that, let's talk about the characters and the possibilities of ones returning, as that's really what we're most excited about. So we have, of course, Tracy, Jess, and their dog Alfie, which is great because we haven't had a dog as a main character in the show since Mischief has left. The new characters we have entering the whole Tracy Beaker franchise on TV is C. Martin, Jess's father, Sean Godfrey, Tracy's new boyfriend, and all of Jess's friends, including Alice, Ava, and Tyrone. The book does focus a little on school, and so did the first season of the story of Tracy Beaker, so we may see Jess's friends at school or maybe not. And of course, there's returning characters. Cam is mentioned all over the book, and I'd be extremely surprised if she didn't return, as well as Justine Littlewood, who I mentioned before, returning, and at the very end of the book we have Peter Ingham from the original series as well returning. And we all love those characters, but the show still hasn't confirmed yet whether the original actors who played them will return or not, which I think is going to be a really big shame if they don't, as the actors fitted the roles perfectly. The most likely one to return is Lisa Coleman, who plays Cam, simply because she returned with Danny Harmer for all of Tracy Beaker Returns, and the actress hasn't really done any acting since that show, so maybe that might be a way to get her back into it. As for Montana Thompson, who played Justine Littlewood, we've seen her return for one episode in Series 3 of Tracy Beaker Returns, and she does play quite a big role in the book, but I reckon she'll definitely return for at least a cameo or the odd episode, like how she did before. The least likely one, unfortunately, is Joe Stars, who plays Peter, simply because he's never returned to the show since Series 1, which was all the way back in 2002. 18 years ago, I know, it makes you feel old. It would be awesome if he could return, but it's less likely. Those are the main characters in the book from the original show, but I wouldn't be surprised if more characters pop up. Connor Byne as Mike is definitely likely, simply because it's Tracy and Mike, the perfect duo. I have a feeling lots of other characters could as well, such as Elaine or Duke, and probably a lot of the Tracy Beaker Returns cast, such as Elektra, as Jessica Revel has returned a lot in the DG, most recently in the recent series. Lily, who's played by Jessie Williams, as again she's returned in the dumping ground with her own cafe, and has a very special bond with Tracy, as Cam fostered her as well. T, simply because Mia McKenna-Bruce and Danny Harmer are very close, as well as Richard Whisker, who plays Liam, as they've acted in Danny's house together and are very close. And all of those characters who I've mentioned just then have also returned at some point in the dumping ground. But with regarding the characters, the main question on everyone's mind is definitely, will the current DG characters make an appearance, and does this show relate to the overall timeline? And I know every single person is about to rush to the comments typing, well, Tracy Beaker returned in the dumping ground in Series 6 for Mike's wedding, and she didn't have a daughter called Jess then, so clearly she doesn't have one. Yes, I know that. But the wonderful Danny Harmer has us covered on this question. She went to TikTok a couple of weeks ago and said exactly this.
How does the timeline work? And I'm kind of thinking that it will sort of follow on from Tracy Beaker Returns. I think Jess, the daughter, is going to be around 10 years old. So by the time it goes out next year, it would have been 10 years since I left the dumping ground. Yes, I did go back to the dumping ground for Mike's wedding. And no, I didn't mention a daughter, but that's not to say that she exists.
So clearly from that we can see that Danny herself thinks it still relates, plus at the very end of the book, literally the last page, Jess and Tracy talk about one of the episodes from the original Tracy Beaker, where Tracy and Peter share their birthday cake and cut their cake together, so I think we can safely say the timeline will fit up. And if she had Jess just after she'd left in Tracy Beaker Returns, and Danny has said that she assumes Jess will be around 10, then it basically almost fits up with the dumping ground timeline. It's hard to say how time works in the dumping ground, how much time passes per episode, but if it's a season is a full year, then it means that it will have been 8 years since Tracy Beaker Returns ended, so very, very close to 10. So they could easily tweak things around if they needed to. But the big question is, what happened to Tracy and Seth, who were very happy together at the end of Tracy Beaker Returns? Well, it's very unlikely Seth will return, but I have a feeling it's going to be explained. Maybe by Justine Littlewood, as in the episode she returned in Tracy Beaker Returns, that's when Tracy and Seth got together. But of course, clearly that doesn't last long, as she gets together with C, and they have Jess. But overall, this is looking like it's going to be an awesome show, and I'm so excited about it, as I'm sure all of you guys are. The show is likely to be released in spring of 2021, but that's at the moment, and who knows how likely things could change with the whole pandemic happening. It looks like the show will be amazing and ran by an amazing team, as Danny has said it's in good hands, as well as tweeting, "I just finished reading the scripts for my mum Tracy Beaker. My goodness, you're in for a treat. Emma Jane Reeves has done an amazing job. Can't wait to get started now." And Emma Jane Reeves is going to be writing the show, and she's written for The Dumping Ground before, so as Danny says, it's definitely in good hands. But anyway guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell us in the comment section down below whether you're excited for My Mum Tracy Beaker. I literally cannot wait. I've been obsessed with all these 3 shows all of my life, and now that we're getting a 4th one, which I never thought we would do, it's amazing. Of course, let me know down below all of your theories and thoughts and any other information that you have on the show. I'd love to hear about it, and basically what you think this entire show is going to be about. And also, while you're down there, why don't you tell me whether you've read the My Mum Tracy Beaker book and whether you think there's going to be any parallels between the book and the TV show. And I'm going to end this video with a quote from Dani Harmer when the show was announced. She said, "I cannot wait to return again to the role of Tracy. I'm just like a fan myself and want to know what happens next and where this next journey will take her." And I'm sure we're all so excited, like Dani Harmer herself, to find out where Tracy Beaker will go to next. But anyway guys, we've been here in Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.